Hi all. In this video, I'll write a class that is similar to student details class on the assignment, and I'll show you how to code it. So let me call this class as Point2D, and this is Point2D class. And inside Point2D class, if you see the assignment, we have all the variables under protected scope. Okay. And in protected scope, I have integer x, I have integer y. And then under public scope, I have Point2D constructor. I have a Point2D constructor which takes integer x, integer y, and then I have a void function set. Okay, I have a void function set point. I'm not calling it as Point2D or Point3D. It's just point y, and I will write a couple of get functions. Integer, my bad. Integer type get x to return x, integer type get y to return y, and the last function is going to be a void function. We call it as display point2d. So observe carefully. I have two variables, two constructors. I have four other methods. One is set point, the other two are get x, get y, display point. So let's code this. From here on, like I said, anything that you are coding, it should go into its own .header file. So let me start a new project, point class, and let me go ahead and create it. So the first class, I'll only be writing prototypes and member variables. So it's called as point2d.h. And what goes into this point2d.h is generally this information: class, member variables, and member function prototype. So the class that I'll be writing, it's called as point2d. Okay. And in this class, we have two protected members, int x, int y. And then we have a set of public members, which are constructor point2d and constructor point2d, which takes in integer x, integer y, and then void set point, which takes in integer x, integer y, and then you have integer get x, and then integer get y, and lastly you have void display point 2d. So these are all the members of the class. Okay, so now from here on, for every .h, all we are doing here is like we are doing a member function prototyping the .h. So we will write another file, something like whatever the class name, followed by .cpp or imp.cpp. The first thing that I have to do is I have to include point2d.h. This is a header file. I have to include it. The reason why I'm including it is whenever I say point2d here, I want to tell the compiler that whatever point2d is there, it's defined in this header file. Okay. Now, first thing that I have to do is, if you notice here, these are the tasks that we have. So the first thing that we have to do would be, uh, writing the constructor. So point2d, and this is a default constructor. Remember the way we discussed in class? Right after colon, there are two member variables, x and y. So all you have to do is set x with 0, set y with 0. and leave the constructor body empty. This is the default constructor. And now we have parameterized constructor. Parameterized constructor, or whatever the function, first you have to tell that it belongs to the class. Now after the colon, this time for x, I want to give x, and for y, I want to give the value y, and leave the constructor body empty. And now we have void set point. This is like a regular setter function. Instead of separate setter function for every class, we have void set point. My bad. This should not be in front of the return type. This should be in front of the method name. All we have to do is this of x equal to x and this of y equal to y. And remember, this notation is only for constructors, not for other functions. And then we have getter functions, point2d get x. All we have to do here is that we have to say return x. You can copy this function. You can write. And this is going to be get y. And all we have to do is return y. And last, we have void point2d display point2d, and the role of this function is to add cout statements. Say that x value is x and cout y value is y and l. And now the cout and l, these are kind of defined in hash include iostream. So all I'm doing is in the header file, I'll say hash include iostream and using namespace std. Okay, so if I define this and I'm importing it here, so that will fix it. So this way, I just wrote the point2d.h point2d implementation.cpp. In the next video, we'll see how to write the point3d. Yeah.